as we continue Inspire and Connect Asia, we're very happy to have these two gentlemen with us here at the TV set. Joining us is Arnaud Caudoux, Deputy CEO of Bpifrance. Arnaud, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon everyone, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for joining us. And of course, joining us is also Song Hwee CHIA, Co-CEO of Temasek International. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you too.
It's wonderful to have the two of you here at the TV set. So let's start maybe with some mega trends as well as investment directions you've been seeing. Context and global vision speaking, what in your view, Song Hwee, we'll start with you, are the major trends currently transforming the global economy and shaping investments today?
Well, as far back as 2019, we have kind of like 5 or 6 top of mind issues. One of them is the macroeconomic imbalances. You have interest rate, inflation, growth, as well as high level of debt to grapple with, and how are you going to balance all that to keep growth growing? So that's number one. Number two, geopolitics and fragmentation of the world. Since then, it has gotten actually worse and not better. So how do we navigate against that backdrop? And then related to it is government have started to be more nationalistic, more protectionism have come in place. So as a global investor, wanting to invest freely globally is becoming a challenge because there's much more scrutiny about what investors like us can do. And then the next one is about the application of technology like AI, especially now. How is it going to affect businesses that we own, but also the workforce? And lastly, the environmental challenges that we continue to face, sustainability is still a top of mind issue for us. So with all this type of complication, there's no good way of addressing it because we can't influence the outcome. We just have to accept it. So we believe that building a long-term, resilient, and future-proof portfolio is the most important one. So the ability to stay nimble and agile is key.
All right, a lot of mega trends that he's spoken about. What about you, Arnaud? Anything to add?
The good thing about mega trends is that basically they are the same across the world. So I would have picked up the same, which is good news in a way. Maybe just one more, which is pretty much specific, not only to Europe, but which is specific to Europe, is demography, which is also something we have in mind when we invest. Demography is driving everything. At the end of the day, if you're a long-term investor and you go for 10 or 20 years, you have to think demography. And that creates, obviously, challenges and opportunities in the healthcare sector, very specifically in the services sector. So this is maybe the one more mega trend which we think a lot in Europe. We mostly invest in Europe. And for Europe, it's very important. And then tech, we are a big tech investor, so clearly AI, clearly blockchain. You see technologies which are really going to change the way we think and work. And this is something you have in mind, not only when you're a tech investor, but whatever you do. Climate change, I have to build on that also. Climate change, I guess Southeast Asia, like Europe, probably are the most exposed rich countries, let's say, investing countries. And so this is also something you need to have in mind all the time. And this is something we are clearly, just like Temasek, clearly we stick to that. We stick to that value that we need to tackle climate change because that's what the future is about.
Yeah, some great insights there. And of course, you talked about Europe. And I want to talk about the geographical impact now. How do your investments reflect these trends specifically, respectfully, in Europe and in Asia as well? We'll start with you, Arnaud.
Well, in terms of geography, again, as Bpifrance, our mandate first was to invest in France. So the way we are looking at geography and at the world is across that prism. So two things actually are changing. One is that, as it was just mentioned today, now we have a mandate to invest in Europe, because specifically in deep tech, you need to build European companies from the start. You cannot afford to build these companies. They are too capital intensive for Europe to afford building one in Spain, one in Italy, one in Germany, one in France. That doesn't work. So you need to build European companies, first because it's very capital intensive, second because you're in the global competition and you need the strength of your roots being European and not just French or whatever. So the way we look at geography is that we have switched from France to Europe, first thing, and second thing, I was talking about demography. We need to find growth where it is. So companies need to tackle the world, not only because it's a global competition, but also because future growth is more in Asia and more in the Indian Ocean than it is in Europe, obviously. We're gonna continue to grow, but we will grow 1 or 2%, and we will be happy growing 1 or 2%. But there's no way we're going to do 4 or 5. So if we want the companies to scale and to scale fast, we need them to be global. So we will invest in funds outside of Europe, and we will invest as a fund of fund in funds which go and get these kind of opportunities, investing themselves in companies outside of Europe, and we will invest in European companies that go for the world.
All right, and Song Hwee, what about you from the Asian perspective?
So firstly, I want to agree with Arnaud that while the challenges that I talked about earlier, challenges also come with opportunities, like AI, climate change, all that. They actually present a different sets of opportunities. When it comes to investing regionally, firstly, Temasek itself is a global investor. We invest globally. And with all the changes that I alluded to earlier, we just need to figure out how to react to those changes. For example, the world used to be more globalized, supply chain is more integrated, and trade flows are more free. Now it is not the case. So we just need to construct our investment thesis around these new parameters. Perhaps we should focus more about companies with large enough domestic market, and their international reach will perhaps be the icing on the cake, for example. Temasek portfolio construction have always been large in Asia because that's where we grew up. So our effort in the more recent time is to actually increase our exposure in the US and European markets.
All right, wonderful. So now we talked a lot about sustainability and the energy transition, not just between all of us, but today as well as a whole. So how is this topic becoming central in your portfolios? We'll start with you, Arnaud.
Well, it's getting central 3 ways, and I guess we have we've had many talks about that, so that's one of the things I love with Song Hwee, that we are passionate about, I think, this thing specifically. But there is different ways to look at it. One way, obviously, is you need to build the technologies for the energy transition. So you're going to invest in the energy industry, in the people who build the future solutions and the future know-how. That's one thing. Second thing, obviously, is renewable energies, all sorts of, not only solar, but all the verticals you can think of. And the third thing is that you need to bring all the rest of the industry to transition. So we have the chance to have large portfolio of companies who are not directly in the energy, but who use energy. And the good thing is that these companies, they need to transition, and transitioning, they can create value actually, because they will become more efficient, less CO2 emissive, and they will just get better at their processes just by transitioning. So we try to invest in the companies which are willing to do that, and we try to bring services and to bring consulting to the companies who are aiming to do so. So 3 ways: tech, renewables, and transitioning the rest of the economy.
All right, a very thorough breakdown. Song Hwee, over to you. Same question.
Yeah.
Why is the energy transition strategic for Temasek?
Temasek came with a long history of owning companies for long term. So we started back in 1974. As you could imagine, some of our portfolio companies came from the old world, less of technology, software perspective. So we do have companies that, from the business itself, heavy carbon emitter. So one of our biggest challenges is to how do we get these companies that we own, and we want to continue to own them, to reduce their carbon emission. Temasek, we have set a very challenging goal for our entire portfolio to get to net zero by 2050, and to halve our emission by 2030. And we are tracking that. I think the first part is very doable, and we are tracking. The second part of the journey will be a lot tougher. One of our high emitter companies is called Sembcorp Industry, is in the power generation business. and power generation in this part of the world are mainly fossil fuel based. So over the years, we have worked with the management team and the board to start pivoting their business to have more renewable energy mix, and they're making good progress. And now they have been beating their first phase of renewable mix in their fuel to power their power plant. So because of that, the market have given them credit for it. The stock have been re-rated, so they are on their second phase of building up more renewables. But as they are going through this journey, it's not smooth, it's not a straight line. As there are actually more gas-related projects that they are looking into, because like it or not, there are a lot of countries that could not get access to renewable energy. And gas is still a relatively better form of fuel than coal, for example. So there's a lot of challenges that need to be worked through. We should not have a one-size-fits-all approach. We just need to systematically and work hard on reducing the overall emission. We also own an airline, and that's very hard to not use fuel, right? But in that, we are working with the company and research institution to develop aviation fuel that have got a less emission characteristic, and with the increased fuel mix, hopefully that will also help to moderate the emission level. But this is not a one-party thing. This is not a one-country thing. Actually, the whole world needs to work together as an ecosystem to move forward on that. So in the areas that Arnaud talked about, we are fully aligned to that. There's a lot of investment opportunities that will bring result and impact. But the journey will not be straightforward, and it will be quite challenging.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great point that innovation is ongoing, and I think you gave a concrete example of SemCorp as an example of an investment in the transition. What about over to you, Arnaud? What do you see today as a top priority? Can you give us a concrete example of an investment in the transition as well?
Yeah, sure. I would take my favorite is Technip Energies. Actually, it's interesting because in many cases we are invested in the same companies in Europe. In this field, Temasek is invested in Topsoe, which is a company we respect a lot. We are invested in Technip Energies, which is, well, let's say in competition with them, but a fair competition, let's say. But it's the same kind of approach, meaning you come from the oil and gas world, you have a lot of know-how, a lot of IP, a lot of relations, a lot of means, financial means, and you have to create the future of energy. So these companies, be it Topsoe or be it Technip Energies, are building the future, and at the same time they are still delivering on the present, because it's not a smooth way for sure. And so you need to live as a company, as you need to make returns as an investor. And these companies can live on both sides at the same time. They deliver to the oil and gas world, and we are still going to need a lot of gas and a lot of LNG in the next 10 and 20 years. So Technip is really a strong global leader on this part, engineering the LNG capabilities of the world. And at the same time, they can be very strong in delivering on CO2 capture, on green hydrogen, on recycling rPET, meaning basically plastic, this kind of thing. So you have global companies delivering to the energy world and delivering what is needed by the end customer. It can be gas, it can be fuel because we need fuel, and it can be CO2 capture and green hydrogen at the same time.
All right, gentlemen, before I let the two of you go, I do have one last question for you about collaboration. How does the alignment between Bpifrance and Temasek help amplify, impact, and foster new opportunities? Song Hwee, I'll go to you first.
I think we have very similar value and how we look at investment opportunities. It's just not just making returns. That is definitely a key metric, but also what purpose for making the investment. If we can make impact of whatever form, it could be in a form of improving sustainable living, or it can be just helping the entrepreneur to realize his or her dream. Investing behind a purpose is definitely much more meaningful. And I think both institutions find a lot of commonality in terms of what we try to do, which I think is fascinating that we have never discussed this, but we kind of like think about the investment opportunity in a very similar manner, and therefore we end up investing in similar things, even though we may be competing in competing companies, right? Yeah.
And Arnaud,
So
same
yeah,
question to you.
not much to add actually. But there are not so many long-term state-owned investors in the world, so we may feel lonely sometimes. So it's good to meet a peer. I think basically we are both, as it was mentioned, state-owned, not state-managed, and we are both for profit first, but definitely for purpose. I think these were the right words. Nothing to add, but just that makes a lot of sense.
All right. I think that we can look forward to more meaningful collaboration between Bpifrance and Temasek. And it was wonderful having the two of you gentlemen here on the TV set today at Inspiring Connect Asia. We were joined by Arnaud Caudoux, Deputy CEO of Bpifrance, as well as Song Hwee CHIA, Co-CEO of Temasek International. Gentlemen, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.